Hold on, guys. We'll get started here in a few minutes. Hey, Fortune, what's going on, man? All right, guys. Sorry, I'm just handling some few things before we get started. How's everybody doing? Looks like Bitcoin's getting some momentum here right as we started. If you guys are just tuning in, make sure if you're in the Discord to check out the summary of markets week 3. We did post it in the Discord. Not sure how many pages it is. It's pretty long. This week we went over SPY, Zuo, gold, oil, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Algo USD. Those are the things that we covered this week. Ched joined us again. He joined me and Sticky this week, so if you guys want to check him out, give him a follow at Ronald McDonald on Twitter. He helped us out on the write-up again this week. Bitcoin finding a little bit of momentum here. Looks really solid on the Momo. You can see when the trend line and the... Hey, Keitoy. Keitoy with the 24 months, 2 years. Definitely either the longest or top 3 sub on the channel. Really appreciate that, man. It's been a long time. 2 years, dude. I actually can't even believe that. You've basically been subbed damn near since we had a sub button. Because we got our sub button in January of 2018, which would be, I think, what, 25, 26 months? And you've got 24, so damn near the longest sub possible. So very much appreciated, Kitoy, as always. Hope you and the family are doing well. I know, man. Seems like yesterday had been worth every day. It it really is crazy how fast those 2 years went by. It really is crazy. I was just looking at the stats for like the YouTube and the Twitter, or sorry, the YouTube and the Twitch, and I was a little off with my prediction. I thought the YouTube would have surpassed the Twitch by now, but it's probably going to surpass it pretty soon. We're almost at 1100 on YouTube. We're still only at about, I think, 1500 on Twitch. Twitch has been going on for about 2 years. YouTube's been going on for about what is that? Probably about 6 to 8 months since like August. So whatever that would be. Yeah, about 6 to 8 months. It's pretty crazy how quickly it all changes. Yeah, if you guys watched the stream, what was it? Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday's stream, we talked about that 12-hour bear div on the bottom here. And I told you guys for the bull div, for the bull div to play out, you would be looking for about 10-1 to about 10-2 for your targets, right? And we're currently playing out pretty much perfectly on that. We're already at above 10,000. So we will be looking for that 10-1, 10-2 as the targets for that play. Ethereum's still looking pretty bullish, just as Bitcoin is. Looks like you have some clear resistance up here on both Ethereum and Bitcoin. So Ethereum looking around that 280 level. Bitcoin, you're looking around that kind of 10-2 level. We should see some resistance coming in along those levels if price does push higher. We've been keeping an eye on Mana. I didn't even see that Mana actually bounced pretty heavily here. Been keeping an eye on Mana. Keep an eye on BAT BTC as well, BAT USDC. Mana bounced 12% today. Actually bounced right off that trail, off that 382 fib on that pullback. BAT looks like it's actually still struggling to bounce. You had a lot of buy signals coming in on that daily trail. Gave you some nice little scalps off those bounces, but nothing too crazy just yet. Still kind of holding that bull flag. CME just opened up at 6 o'clock. Let's take a look. We did get a gap. So we have about a $300 gap right now on the CME. About a $300 gap. I think I have these marked out. I must have deleted them. I thought I had them marked out here. Got one there. You've got a small one back here. You've also got one here, I believe. We have 3 gaps below us now. I think that's it for the local gaps. Got a gap at 97, got a gap at about 91, and then a gap at 85. So a lot of CME gaps coming in below price, which is not too healthy. So we do have a $300 gap, which lines up with kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we do pop up a little bit here and then probably find some resistance and fail back downward. We'll see how it plays out. I'm starting to really like this color scheme. I'm liking the dark theme, especially when most of my analysis is being done at nighttime. We do have a 3-hour Kumo twist coming in. Bullish Kumo. 4-hour bullish Kumo coming in as well. 1-hour bullish cloud right below price. 15-minute bullish Kumo coming in. You are breaking above that kind of flat cloud on the 15 as well. Hey, man. Another long time sub, 20 months. Appreciate that, man. Basically like a little over a year and a half. That's crazy, man. Welcome back as always. Appreciate having you. Sorry guys, if you guys are watching on YouTube and you like subscribe, I don't have any way to put those notifications on stream. I haven't figured that out yet. Because I do dual stream, so I stream on Twitch and YouTube. So I only have the alerts for the Twitch stuff. I don't have the alerts for YouTube. I'm pretty new to YouTube live streaming, so I haven't figured that out just yet, but I'll probably look into that pretty soon. Most of the YouTube is not on the live stream, though. Most of the YouTube is on the VOD, so it's not that big of a deal. I'll try not to switch back and forth between this dark and light so much during stream. I know that's quite irritating on the eyes. We'll try to stick to the light during the stream. You said moon or rejection. What do you think? I think short term, I think a bounce like to the upside is not bad. But I'm still kind of like long term slightly bearish. The CME gap is definitely not helping Bitcoin. The CME gap that just happened today is definitely not helping. Yeah, so you can see you have another CME gap that just formed. Definitely not helping price. What is easier for you guys to see on stream? Do you guys like the lighter charts on stream, or do you guys like the darker charts? I feel like the lighter ones are easier to see on stream. Funny thing about this gap here is it did get wicked, but you don't have like a full close on this gap here. You only had the candles push up to about that lower level there. You still have a slight gap here on the bodies. You think darker is better for you without a doubt? Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling like since a lot of people watch on like mobile, a lot of people are I have a lot of European viewers, so you guys are watching at nighttime. I feel like the darker charts are definitely not a bad idea for stream. For this color scheme here, I'm using the default, the like old school default trading view colors. With just a few modifications, obviously. I took off the background lines and I have the white scales. I've got black borders. Yeah, we can test it out. I can stream and just stick to the dark one for today and see how you guys like that. I like the way the Momo looks with the default colors. I changed my Momo to fit the default colors. I think it looks pretty good. You just switch back to default too. Yeah, I don't mind the default trading view colors with a few little modifications to make them look pretty good. I don't think they're too bad. Now I'm using the Oasis Trading Suite, so I have adjusted the colors on there as well. I've been using Ichimoku on this chart to show the cloud and whatnot, so I don't have the full Oasis Trading Suite on. I just have the light version. But I can pull up the full version and change the colors. So if you want default colors, it's this like weird little green here. It's the third one up. And then for red, it's the same thing. The red, third one up. Those are the default colors. I did post the video. Oh man, I did post it. It's on our YouTube. I can grab a link for you. It's actually doing quite well. I think you guys are really liking that video. And it's actually really cool because here I can actually show you. Let me go to the video here. That fake out level. Oh, so here you go. Break that fake out level. Very likely that it will become a. So listen to what I say here. Listen to what I say here in this video, and we're gonna go over how it played out afterwards. But let me pause my piano music real fast. Listen to like the next like 30 seconds of this video, and then we'll go over it. Of that new low, it needs to break that 0.13. It needs to break that fake out level. If it doesn't break that fake out level, very likely that it will become a deviation and we will push higher. So if you guys haven't already watched my accumulation distribution video, watch that video. You'll know what I'm talking about when I say deviation. So it could form a deviation here and then regain that low and start to push higher again. So we always want to see a break of that 0.13 before we begin to head lower. So same thing can be said. So what I was saying was, if you're using this technique that I go over in this video, is for this to be like a continuation downward, like if we wanted to see like 5K, 4K, 3K, you wanted to see a break of that 64.47 level before you pull back, right? So if we go back and look at that level, so what I was taking here on the video was this to this, right? And then look at where we bounced. This is a perfect example of how to use this technique. And we traded this. And if you guys were watching the stream at the time or watching the Discord at the time, we traded this beautifully. The Quasimodo was perfect. That became a deviation. So we took that long. And yeah, so you can see how using this technique in the video, you were able to acquire basically a perfect bottom trade. And then you had that bounce all the way back up. And then look at where we failed. We failed right there on that 50% retracement. So just for the guys who like watch my videos and they're like, oh, this is all hindsight, and they always ask like, how do you use this live? There's a perfect example of how you could have used it. Here's the video, man. It's on my channel. It's Deja Brew Trading, not Trades. Deja Brew Trading, right here at the top. That is my YouTube. If you got in any of these buy signals down here on the trail, you'd be currently up about 3.7%. The high would be about 5% almost. So not too bad on those buy signals. You are starting to turn gray on the 12 hours, so you're trying to break back into an uptrend. 8 hours bullish. 4 hours bullish. Basically everything below the 4 hours bullish. We are regaining a pivot here around 98, 97. Yeah, that one's going over my technique. So basically how I trade bull flags and bear flags is using Fibonacci. That's why it's the same video. That's how I trade the flags. Yeah, we are trying to regain a 3-hour pivot here. You don't have another pivot until you get to about 10-1, and then you have one around 10-3. This level around 10-3 was perfect on that high right there. We also saw this pivot play out beautifully on that low. So we're kind of seeing like how this one played out here, where you had that pivot act as a low, and then you tried to push higher. You're kind of seeing that with this pivot, where you're trying to regain it as a low and attempt to push higher. We'll see how it does. Yeah, that's what the funding is, man. So he said, by the way, it turns out the average difference between spot price and MEX price is used to determine the funding. Yeah, so funding on basically all the exchanges, they calculate kind of like their price compared to the spot price, and then it determines how they do their funding. That's basically the same across the board. Any other altcoins you guys are watching, or any stocks you guys want to take a look at? Looks like XTZ is trying to maintain its uptrend here. BAT's turning bullish on the 12-hour and the daily. Not looking too bad. The daily actually looks pretty bad. You have a kind of a gravestone forming a hammer. Very ugly 12-hour too. Massive sell-off on that 12-hour. 4-hour flat cloud holding the price down there. Yep, 15 minutes switching into a bearish cloud as well. Almost trying to climb on the 15, but not too much pressure here. Little bear trap coming in on the Momo. If this turns green on the OTS on the 1 hour, this could indicate a bear trap. Very nice combination. I've talked about this on stream before. If you guys have the Momo and the OTS, if you guys like trading the bull traps and the bear traps on the Momo, a nice little confirmation is waiting for that candle coloring on the OTS. Like if you see a bear trap, you wait for that candle coloring to turn green, and that will usually indicate confirmation for that bear trap. Kind of like what we saw here. Kind of have like a little bear trap, and then it turns green, and then it pushes higher. Very similar. Same thing here. Turns green. Little consolidation, but then it pushed higher. Yeah, man, we were talking about that on stream for a little bit, trying to determine like how it was calculated. Looking at the daily Momo here on BAT, you almost have a bear trap coming in, but this loss of momentum on the trend line is not very good. So if you can't push higher here and see that gain in momentum on the trend line and the price line, it's not looking like a confirmed bear trap. Hey, Turnip, you said there's a gap on the CME. Yeah, we just talked about that. There is a nice little gap. I think it's like, what, $300? Yeah, about $300 on the CME. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Definitely going to be interesting to see how the volume comes in towards the daily close. Probably have about 30 minutes left. I want to see kind of how the daily close reacts to the CME gap here. Definitely want to see how it reacts on Monday as well. Pretty strong sell pressure coming in on the short term. He said, so the question is, if people are overly bullish on derivatives compared to spot, does that indicate anything? It probably indicates more long-term sentiment. So like if they're more overly bullish on like derivatives, typically that means they're more overly bullish on like futures. So if they're trading like futures on BIMX or whatever other platform they're using, typically that means they're more bullish long-term compared to like the spot price now. That could be a little indication. It's kind of like doing the same thing that I do here, where you look at the spreads between the current price, like perpetual price, compared to the futures price, right? So you kind of gauge how do people think, um, how do people think the market's going to move, um, in the future, right? For like the futures contracts, is there a premium? Is there a discount? We have not seen a discount for quite some time. We have seen a premium on the futures contracts for a while. And you can see basically since the creation of the March contract, it's at a massive premium. It's at a $450 premium right now. It was at like almost a $700 premium. And then what is this? I think this is March. The March contract was pretty much flat for a little bit, but we do have a small premium on March as well. About a $220 premium on March. Meaning the contract is trading $220 higher than the current price. So it's trading at about 10.2, and then the June future is trading at 10.4. So it's basically indicating that these are the prices that people think, based on the perpetual price right now, what the price is going to be in March and June. Now, obviously, that fluctuates as price moves. Typically, during massive volatility moves, you'll see that spread start to diminish. So, like what we saw during that massive move on like February 19th, you saw that spread go from $600 all the way down to $300. This move right here. So when this move happened, you can see how the spread reacted. The spread reacted by closing. Do you happen to know how is liquidation calculated for the futures? I'm pretty sure it's just calculated the same exact way based on your margin. Just how far can the contract move without liquidating you? No, I don't think you'd get instantly liquidated. I think it's based on the contract you're trading. It's not based on perpetual. The liquidation prices are going to be based on the contract you're trading, not the spot price. I'm not entirely sure, man. I don't look too deeply into like how they're calculated. I just trade them. They have like long ass papers on their website that go into how they're calculated. I don't bother reading them. It has very little effect on my trading, so I'm not ever trading such a high leverage that I have to worry about where my liquidation price is. If you're worrying about where your liquidation price is, you're trading with way too much leverage. I've only ever been liquidated on BitMEX, knock on wood, one time. I don't really ever worry about my liquidation, and I trade cross, so that shows you kind of how different I trade compared to most people. I trade cross, don't care about my liquidation. I use different hedging techniques and different stop loss techniques to manage my risk. I don't give a shit about liquidation. I'm never close enough to my liquidation for it to even affect me at all. Yeah, so basically all it means when there's a premium is people are buying it up heavily, basically once the contract has started. So it's seeing a lot more buy pressure compared to like perpetual, right? Because the liquidity is way different. The liquidity is going to be way less on the close future, and then it's going to be even more. It's going to be even lower on the farther out future. So like the March contract is going to have less liquidity than the perpetual, and then the June contract is going to have less liquidity than the March contract. The farther out you go, the lower the liquidity is, from what I've seen. So that's why the spread can be so big, because the liquidity is way lower. I don't have BitMEX pulled up right now. I'm not in any current trades, so I can't look at it. I wouldn't think too hard about it, man. Unless you're running like a hedge fund or you're doing some like crazy hedging techniques, it's not going to affect your trading. You don't want to cloud your trading with stuff like that. It's not going to have very little effect on your trading. So no point in killing your time with it. It's crazy how little spread you have on these two sessions here. Very little delta happened on these previous 2 days. And now we're breaking into a very strong bullish delta. Kind of like a cup and handle on the delta chart. Take a look at the value chart. God, I need to fucking get rid of this mouse. It's really starting to drive me crazy. Yeah, so if you guys if you guys look at trading like accumulation distribution, you can see very clear accumulation down here, where you have these 3 days with their value all the way, all basically in the same price. Why does my music sound so loud right now? So the 3 days right here, their value is almost all in the same zone, right? So you have that kind of like 95.35 all the way up to 9800, or sorry, 97.30. You have a lot of accumulation here. So basically, once you break out of that value, which would be kind of above that 97.30 range, you're starting to find new value. So you want to look at previous value to see where kind of your resistance is going to show up, right? So if we're looking at this little cluster here of like these little 4 days, you can see the value is kind of spread out on these days, but the majority of it is kind of happening around that monthly POC, right? Around 9,800, right? So if we're looking at an accumulation here, and then we're looking at the previous value from like the prior days, you can see that once we get above that kind of 9,800, you don't have a whole lot of resistance until you get to kind of this upper value here, where you have these 1, 2, 3, and then you have this day here. You see how these 3 days are all kind of in the same range, and then you have this day here that's also in that same range. So basically it's showing you that once you get above the accumulation high, which is basically that high of the value area right here, so like 97.30, you have a little bit of resistance from these previous days. We could just say that's kind of around 9,800. Once you get above that, you have a little bit of resistance kind of around that 10.15. And then that's basically it. Then you can zoom out even further. Not sure why it's not loading here. Why is it not loading? Yeah, so once you zoom out a little further, you can see there's basically nothing here, right? If you're looking at the current price action, there's basically nothing there. And we can take a look at a longer scale here. Go to like a weekly. I just broke my chart for some reason. Here we go. So you can do the same thing kind of on a weekly, right? Where you have that like accumulation on the bottom, you're breaking above the value area high. You want to look at your previous zones for resistance. You can see how you kind of had resistance right here. You broke above it, you flipped it, then you pushed higher, right? So look at where we are currently. What do you notice? You notice that there's not a whole lot of value in this range right here. In this range of about 9,400 to, let's say, 98, 99, right? You don't have a whole lot of value. So there's not a whole lot of resistance there. But if you go a little bit further back and you look at this range right here, this accumulation that ended up breaking downward, you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically 6 weeks right here, and you can even include these, so even more than 6 weeks, you kind of have that resistance in that same area. It's all lining up around that 10.1 to 10.5, 10.6, right? You have a ton of value in that 10.1 to 10.6. So when you're coming up to retest that, you're going to find resistance. And that's exactly what you're doing here. You're finding resistance, you're starting to pull back because you have a ton of value that was traded in that range. You saw it get wicked on this week right here where you saw that massive move up and then it wicked all the way back down. And now we're seeing an actual retrace towards that level. So what I'm seeing, if we're looking at like just the value, is if we get above like 10 or let's just say 11,000 to call it even, you break out of 1, 2, 3 these 6 weeks above 11,000, there's not a whole lot of value from your local price action to stop you. And once again, we could go to a higher time frame to look at this easier. If it wants to load here. I've never had this much issue with exocharts. Not sure why it's taking so long. Here we go. So the monthly shows you exactly what I'm talking about. You have a ton of value in this range here, but then if you break above that range, above like 11,000, you don't have a whole lot of resistance. There's basically no value above that that level. You can see value area high, value area high, value area high. All 4 of these months, the value area high is around 11,000. You don't see a whole lot of value up here. So there's not a whole lot of very strong resistance there. So 2 things could happen. When you see these kind of zones that look like exhaustion, where you see the value is all kind of in the same area, and then you see the outside of the value area is lining up on multiple periods. Like this would be the monthly, so this would be multiple months. If you see the outside of the value area, which I call exhaustion, you see the exhaustion lining up on all 3 of these months, typically you have 2 things happen. You could have a strong move up that instantly gets wicked, and then you fall back downward into that value, or you see a strong move up and then you kind of consolidate and you create value in that range. It's not very likely that you just blow through it. I don't see that very often. If you see an exhaustion zone like this, it's typically either wicked and retraces or it fills in. It's kind of like a gap. So if you guys watch my volume profile video, I talk about it in the video. I talk about gaps. Gaps are usually either wicked or they're kind of filled in. That's typically what you'll see. So when we retest this kind of 12K range, 12.5, we want to see how it reacts. Is it going to get wicked and pull back down to this value area, which could give you some decent buys? Or is it going to fill in? Either way, it could be bullish. Filling it in would probably be more bullish than pulling back, because pulling back would indicate like a double top. So filling it in would probably be slightly more bullish than just wicking it. But either way, you could either wait for the consolidation if it fills in and then look for a long on the breakout, or you could wait for the wick and it pulls back into that value, and you shouldn't be afraid to buy that dip. Like if we push up and wick back down, this is a pretty high risk, high reward trade, where you can buy that kind of value around 10.3, 10.5, and then see if it pushes higher. It's a pretty good trade to take, probability wise. Just a small little lesson on volume profile and reading kind of exo charts. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. I think that will help you guys out a lot in kind of like your long-term analysis. Now, you don't need exo charts to do that kind of analysis. You can do that kind of analysis on TradingView, which I've showed you guys before. I posted some screenshots in Discord. I think it was on the 19th. And I told you guys that here, I'll pull up the screenshot. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so I posted a few screenshots here looking at the volume profile analysis. So you can use the volume profile on TradingView to do this kind of same thing. So what did I say? Like when you have that exhaustion, you'll typically see it be wicked and retrace, or you'll see it be pushed up and then it will pull back to that value area and use it as support, right? So you have that exhaustion, you push up on this day, you pull back, you retest that value area, and then you push higher. So that was right there on 9,600, and then I called it out around 97, and we pushed up towards the inefficiency, which we saw on the CME. If you look at the volume profile on the past couple of days on the CME, you could see that we had a gap here. You had your value area down on the lower section. Once again, lower value area, a little bit of exhaustion. You filled in the exhaustion. You filled in the gap. And then you failed downward. And then look at the volume profile when you failed downward. You basically have no volume. That is what I call inefficiency, right? So you have inefficiency on that failure. So typically, if you start to consolidate like this, and you start to kind of push towards that inefficiency, that kind of gap where there's no volume is an easy target for that consolidation trade. So like if you took that consolidation trade and then the price starts to push higher, you could use like yesterday's POC as your kind of like invalidation, and then the inefficiency would be your target. So anywhere kind of in that gap would be your target. I made it easy for you guys, and I just told you to target the POC. You had your POC kind of here on that day, which you could have targeted on that push up, which was around 10,000. So that was easily taken. So like if we were doing it here on this chart without the CME, I'll show you kind of how you could have done this. If you want to start doing kind of this kind of analysis, just go to your indicators, go to volume profile, session volume, and then it gives you all your session volumes, right? So it's slightly different because this is not the CME. This is the BitMEX contract. But you can see there's still basically no volume here, right? You have kind of that inefficiency on that massive failure. You have your POC here, which could have been targeted. And we also have our value area high here, which could have been targeted. And then anywhere in between could have been targeted as well. Basically anywhere in that inefficiency you could have targeted. You could have just waited for the price to kind of begin to fail on your target. So look at how this played out. And I'll make this easier here. Let's get rid of this, get rid of this. So there is that POC level, and then here is the value area high level. Look at how both of these levels played out. Basically a perfect test on that consolidation, and then you have a wick of that that value area high there. So one more upper level, or you actually have two, but one more dominant upper level is that POC, like right there. So if we were to push a little higher, you would look for resistance kind of around that 10.15, which I've been telling you guys for the past couple days, 10.1, 10.2. And then your final target, your final level would be that value area high above that range. So that would give you about 10.3. Like I said, you guys don't need exo charts. You don't need like a third-party platform. You can do this kind of analysis on TradingView. And you can do the same thing. You can do this same thing, not even looking at session volume. You can use it on visible range. And it will kind of give you the same methods, right? So like if I wanted to take the year to date here, I'm going to make this a little prettier. So let's just say 2020, we're going to start our visible range. You can start looking at this volume profile and finding some levels that you like, right? So like we have a major gap kind of around 95. We have another gap kind of around 92. We have a POC right here around 86. We have the value area low around 83. Value area high is actually currently being tested around 10.1. and then we're entering new territory above 10.6. Those are all your important levels for 2020. You guys see how easy it is to find those levels? You could also take the high value nodes. If you guys, the high volume nodes, excuse me. You could take the high volume nodes if you like trading those as well. I prefer to trade gaps, but you can trade the high volume nodes as well. Yeah, Bitcoin keeps pushing higher and then it fails to continue. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of like buy pressure coming in and then it disappears pretty quickly. So like, let's look at the volume profile. So you can do this from, this is very easy on like TrendSpider. If you guys use TrendSpider, they have an anchored volume profile, which makes it very easy. But like if we take the volume profile from the high here, you can see where all of our dominant levels are. So from the high of 2019, you can see we have a major gap around that kind of 9,000. We have our POC right where price is failing. We have another major gap around like 11,000, which lines up with what I was telling you guys earlier with that exhaustion. You have a lot of resistance right here on that HVN. You have a value area high right there as well. We have a lot of support down here. Major gap. And then we have a lot of support again. Did you guys see how quickly you can find major levels just using a volume profile? So like if I wanted to take just a few levels from this, the most important levels that I would keep an eye on is the gap right here at 11,000. The gap right here at 9,000. The gap right here at 77. And then just, I don't mark these, but just know that in between these gaps, you typically have a lot of support and resistance. Like right there, right there. So for example, like if price began to, so how I would use these levels, if price began to start to fail kind of off this POC, and then we started to find support on this low right here, that's a pretty good buying opportunity. If it starts to wick that gap, like I was telling you guys earlier, because typically they'll either be filled in or they'll be wicked, right? Not very often that you see they're just blown right through, but you do see that from time to time when you see massive momentum, but not very often. But if it does start to kind of do something like this, or it bounces off of it or it wicks it, it could give you a nice little buying opportunity. Same thing kind of here, where you start to find some support, and then maybe you kind of wick downward, and then you push back up into that support. This is a beautiful setup that I like to trade. It's basically a Quasimodo, but it lines up with a volume gap, right? If you have a volume gap, that kind of, so like, for example, you have this support right here. If you start to find support, and then you like get a massive sell pressure and wick downward, but then you retrace into that support, this is a very, very strong buying opportunity. If you see something like that, like maybe we start to fail downward here, consolidate, wick downward, and then retrace upward, that is a very strong buying opportunity. You almost never want to miss out on those trades, which is exactly why we bought this trade here. If you guys remember why we took this trade, basically the same exact thing. You saw that support coming in, you wicked the support, and then you regain the support. We took that trade, we started building a little early. Sadly, my targets were basically spot on, but I closed very, very early. Where did I close? I closed either here or here. Can't remember which one. We made a very nice profit, but I should have held for my entire target. But that's it for like the little lesson on volume profile. Hopefully you guys able to gain something from that. I'll have that highlighted and posted on YouTube as well. If you guys are watching that on YouTube, appreciate you guys watching. If you like the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Hey, Fizz, what's going on, man? 3 hour Kumo still twisting upward. 1 hour Kumo still showing support. 1 hour Momo a little scary though. You can see that kind of rollover. You're kind of losing momentum. But if you break that trend, start to push upward, you could see a nice little gain here. But this is a bear div. Like if we look at this price action here, this is definitely a bear div. Same thing here. If you re-lose this cloud here, it could be pretty ugly. Hey Chadwick, you said, what do you think about the ETH USD chart right now? ETH USD is pretty much just distributing. So if you guys follow my distribution pattern, you can take the wicks, take the bodies, doesn't really matter. But I'll take the wicks here. You can kind of see, I'm going to take this low here. You can kind of see that it's just distributing in this range. So it's more bullish than Bitcoin, I'd say. But nothing too definitive here. As you continue to distribute, I would just buy the lows, sell the highs until the distribution is broken, until you have a clear deviation. You're basically just sticking to your standard distribution trading, buying the lows and selling the highs. So no trade here. Your trade here would be selling the highs or selling a deviation. And then your trade down here would just be buying the lows. You don't want to see this is the main mistake people make, is they don't recognize, let me close this cloud. They don't recognize that this is distribution, and they'll start taking trades like in the middle here, right? They'll start taking all these random trades, and they don't recognize that this is just a heavy distribution pattern. All you have to do is maintain the buy the low, sell the high structure. Who cares about all these trades in between? Sell the deviations, buy the deviations, buy the dips, sell the highs. Until that system is broken, there's no reason to complicate it. He said, okay, cool, you confirm my thoughts. Thanks, no problem, man. As I said earlier, guys, if you guys are in the Discord, make sure to check out the new write-up that we just posted. We posted summary of markets week 3. In this week, we went over SPY, Zuo, gold, oil, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Algo USD. Basically, all of them are following our write-up from last week. If you guys want to check out that write-up from last week, join our Telegram. It's Oasis Trading. and we post our write-ups from last week as we post our new write-ups in Discord. So week 1 and week 2 are both in our Telegram. If you guys want to check those out and kind of see what the new write-ups are going to look like, those are posted. If you guys have any feedback, as always, let us know. This is only our 3rd week, so we've got a lot of room for improvement. If you guys have any little critiques, any feedback goes a long way. So make sure to look through the write-ups and let us know if you guys want us to change anything. We offer one of the largest, probably the largest in the crypto space, one of the largest write-ups in our field. And that's only one of the things that we offer in our Discord. This week's write-up, I think, let me check, was like 30 pages. It's pretty big. It was... yeah, 30 pages exactly. That includes a lot of pictures, so it's not as long as it sounds. About 1,300 words. 1,300 words, 30 pages. So hopefully you guys are checking it out. My buddy's getting into Elf BTC. Holy crap! That is a shitcoin, isn't it? I remember trading that thing way back in the day. He said, "I don't see anything. Let's take a look." I remember trading this shitcoin way back in the day, man. Holy hell! It's actually doing pretty well. It's pretty funny. You zoom in. Wow, this thing's doing fantastic. Zoom out. And it's like, okay, never mind. Yeah, that thing's not doing too good. This is a great example. I'm glad you brought this coin up. This is a great example of like how the crypto traders, I'm using air quotes, and I know you guys can't see me. This is how like the Twitter crypto traders trade. They will, so they'll post their trade like, oh shit, time to buy Elf, guys, and then they'll post it up here. Oh wow, we did a great job, guys. We had 93% gain. Very good job, guys. Great trade, fantastic, made so much money. Actually, they were buying the entire way down. So their average is like here. And they're selling for this tiny little move. You guys know what I'm talking about? I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You guys have seen traders do this so many times. They'll tweet about buying coins like these all the way down. And then it has one little tiny pump. And they'll try to farm their clout. It's so dishonest. But all right, back to the analysis. It's doing fantastic here short term. Short term, this is a great breakout here. Definitely looking pretty good. If we're looking at the Fibonacci here, yeah, it's bouncing pretty much perfectly off the buy zone. So like you would be looking to buy this kind of around that 50 and 618. This would be like the riskier buy. This would be the safer buy. So it's bouncing right off that 50%. So it's a little risky. But as long as it holds like that buy zone, it's decently bullish. Now, obviously, this retrace is pretty deep. That's a 50% retrace, so it still could easily go lower. But as long as it holds here, it could give you some decent bounces. Now, let's look at the actual Oasis trading suite here. Yeah, so you had some pivots coming in up here, calling the top. Nice little buy the dips, giving you nice little scalp signals here. That was actually way more than a scalp. That gave you an incredible trade there. Beautiful blue pivot coming in, buy signals at the bottom. Yeah, very, very strong breakout here. Take a look at it on the weekly. Let's get rid of the Fibonacci here. So the weekly is breaking above the trail. The trail is still red though. You're not flipping green just yet. You did flip green on this week right here, which is the first green bar you've seen since way back here. This is the first green bar that it's had since early 2019. But look at this trail. This thing has been relentless. Let me turn off the Ichimoku. You see this trail here? Look at that trail, just nuking price. We're finally starting to break above that trail. So if that trail flips green, you could look for a nice little buy up here. This trail has been red since July of 2018. And we just nuked. One of the easiest things to trade long-term shit coins is the Oasis Trading Suite candle colors. And then you throw on the trail and the pivots and it makes it very, very easy. But one of the free indicators in the Discord is just the candle colors. So you can see how easy this is to trade just looking at the candle colors on the indicator. Still on a red month too. You've been red for quite some time. You can see how we switched from red to green down here towards the bottom on that accumulation, and then boom, just all the way up. Beautiful move. Let's take a look at the VWAP bands here. This is the 1 year VWAP. Make sure it's on 1 year. Yeah, it's on 1 year. This is the 1 year VWAP. You can see how every time it tries to exit the VWAP, it fails. Because that is basically FOMO. And now we're pulling back towards that 1 year VWAP. That's pretty solid. Just as I said, the buy zone was like right here, along with that 1 year VWAP. So as long as it holds kind of 1,000, 150, doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. Last year's VWAP close is around 26. So if you were trading very long term, that would be the target. Around last year's VWAP. The year prior was 12. So look at how bad this thing is doing. So from this year to this year, it lost 77% in its VWAP. Pretty disgusting. You're coming into the weekly cloud too. Massive resistance on the weekly cloud. The weekly cloud on Bitcoin is also holding price down. So if you guys are keeping an eye on Bitcoin, if you guys like trading Ichimoku, you can see the cloud, the top of the cloud there. This is regular settings, not crypto settings. It's holding price down. If we pulled back that 8,500, that flat cloud would be a nice little support. Finding some pressure here. Yeah, very nice. Look at that 1 hour candle. While we were talking about that shitcoin, you can see a lot of pressure coming in. Trade was meant for short term. Yeah, so short term, as long as it holds the buy zone, you could take little scalps out of the buy zone. $50 mil buy wall. Yeah, the $50 mil buy wall is coming back. Oh, sorry. You said, can you check on ExoCharts how much was sold at 10:08? Are you talking about recently? $10,008? You mean like back here? Looks like about 1.3 million. Yeah, 1.3 million. Oh, and then this one here, only about 200,000. Nothing too crazy. I once had a CT group tell me to buy Storm because it would be listed on Bittrex. Once it got listed, they were bragging, I told you so. Funny thing is, it pumped to 100 sats, and they told us to buy around 900 sats. Jesus Christ, dude. That is the space for you, man. Turn upside down 99% from all-time highs, so it's got a lot of room to go, is my favorite misconception. Yeah, really, dude. He said you see that all the time on crypto Twitter, 100%. It makes my job hard, man, because people come in here and like their first impression, they think that I'm like all the other scammers and all the other people who are just basically douchebags and don't know what they're talking about, but it's part of the space, man. Look at this buy wall. This guy is clearly not an equities trader. He would have got fined so hard already. Illegal spoofing for weeks, if not months. You gotta love illegal spoofing in crypto, man. Bitcoin's having trouble with this resistance. Yeah, it's trying to be propped up by an illegal spoof. And there's just no real buyers. This is what happens when fake buyers try to buy into a real resistance. Fake buyers versus real sellers. Look at how pathetic it is. Pulls it, goes down, puts it about 5 ticks away, goes back up. Price is going to go down again. He pulls it. If you guys want to know the difference between like a legal spoof and an illegal spoof, what he's doing would be considered highly illegal in equities. I'll see if I can find an article on it that'll make it easy for you guys to understand the difference. Okay, so here's just the basic definition of what an illegal spoof is, for equities. It says spoofing is an illegal form of market manipulation in which a trader places a large order to buy or sell a financial asset, such as a stock, bond, or futures contract, with no intention of executing. By doing so, the trader or the spoofer creates an artificial impression of high demand for the asset. Like I told you guys before, the difference between a legal spoof and an illegal spoof, the illegal one, it's malicious. They have no intention of them getting filled. And you can see that because if price starts to move towards their spoof, they pull it, right? So I guess the way that I'm saying it, man, there is no legal spoofing in equities. There's no such thing as a legal spoof. It's just kind of like legally trading. But I'm saying legal spoofing so you guys understand what I'm talking about. There's technically no such thing as a legal spoof, because spoofing by definition is illegal. What I mean by legal spoofing is just like placing normal limits, right? Like normal bid and ask prices. I just say that for the sake of description. What's the point of spoofing? To hold the price up. So like, as you can see, every time he puts his wall in, what do you see? What happens? The price gets bought up. Because all these people, look, he puts it in, what's happening? The price is getting bought up. He's not doing that. He's not buying it. He's getting all the retailers that don't know the difference between like spoofing and real buy pressure. They think this is a real whale. So they're just, look at it. They're just buying the price up. You see what I'm saying? Interweb says spoofing was only illegal. Yeah, so sorry. I'm probably confusing you guys at this point. There is no legal spoofing. I'm only saying legal spoofing so you guys know what I mean by like people putting in normal orders, which is not technically spoofing. So I won't say that anymore. Spoofing by definition is illegal. BitMEX discourage spoofing though? I mean by bans. I've never heard of them banning anybody for that. Have you heard of them actually banning people for that? I've never heard of that. I bet that FTX Alameda research guy has some trading strategies around that. Oh, 100%. That's why I don't think exchanges really do dick to stop it, because a lot of the times the market makers and the exchanges are probably the ones doing most of it. I mean, technically it's not illegal in crypto. They can do whatever the fuck they want. You can't call them out for it. You see how there's like no real buy pressure right here? It's because all the buy pressure that's coming in is coming off of very small retailers thinking that that spoof wall is real. But all right, guys, you guys have any final questions or anything you want me to go over before we close up the stream? Haven't taken a break off the computer since I started writing that summary of markets write-up. I need a stretch, man. I need to get out of here, do something. Hey, Chadwick, I appreciate that follow, man. Anybody else, blah, blah, you followed off stream, appreciate that. Tony, I think I got you last stream. 8,300 or 11K first? Well, that's probably easier to say 11K. It's only $1,000 away. $8,300 is a little low. This is a very strong resistance right here, around like 10.3, 10.4. I think people are not recognizing how strong this is. If we start to flip this 10.4 range, I think we're definitely going 11K very easily. Because this is a very strong level. You can see how quickly that reaction came in on that red candle there. Very, very strong level here. People are not giving it enough credit. But if we start to flip like 10.2, 10.3, that'll be a different story. But all right, guys. Make sure you check out the summary of markets. We put a lot of work into it. It takes us a few hours to do it. And obviously, we got to put in all the analysis and whatnot on all the tickers and everything. So I hope you guys take a look, read through the markets that you guys want to trade. There's 3 markets on there. There's equities, commodities, and crypto. You don't have to read them all, obviously. If you're just into crypto trading, check out the crypto section. But at least check it out. We put a lot of work into it. So hopefully you guys like it. As always, like I said, if you guys have any feedback, we are open to feedback. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Appreciate you guys being here live. You guys are watching the VOD. Thanks for watching the VOD as well. What else? I think that's basically it for you guys. I will see you guys on Tuesday. I don't stream on Monday, so I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Appreciate everybody being here. You guys have a good night, man. Peace.